Hello. About a month ago, I got done watching the movie Rango, and I recently beat Oddworld Strange's Wrath for the 4th time this year. Rango is a pretty great film with its still animation and overall mature tone, and Oddworld Strange's Wrath is in competition for one of my favorite games of all time, with its incredibly fun gameplay and an amazing mix of first-person and third-person action that I think can't be replicated today. I rate Rango an 8 out of 10, and I rate Oddworld Strange's Wrath a 9.5 out of 10. And don't worry, Oddworld Strange's Wrath gets a video of its own for another day. Why do I tell you this? Because these two things are better pieces of Western media than the Western media I will be looking at today. A Disney film called Home on the Range. Directed by Will Finn and John Stanford, Home on the Range is an animated comedy musical western film made by Disney and released on April 2, 2004 to a mixed reception but would later go on to garner a negative reputation. This was Disney's very last 2D film before Princess of the Frog briefly brought it back in 2009. Just like The Croods, Home on the Range has a pretty interesting production. The film went through 3 different revisions throughout its 14-year-long development period. Originally, the film was going to be about famous Western legends like Annie Oakley, Buffalo Bill, and Pecos Bill. This was all conceived during the working of Pocahontas, which was chosen to be made first. Then the film was pitched again as a supernatural western called Sweating Bullets, which would have been about a cowboy visiting a ghost town to take down a cattle rustler named Slim, who in this version was undead and died by being trampled by cattle. Then another version was pitched, this time called Bullets, about a bull calf wanting to lead a herd like the horses before him. Finally, after all of these versions, the version we got today was complete in 2003 before the release of Brother Bear, and so a year later the film would be released on April 2, 2004. Home on the Range holds a special place in my heart as being among one of the most rewatched movies I had on VHS, along with the likes of The Lion King, Toy Story, and Shrek 2. Over the years, Home on the Range has always been touted as the movie that killed 2D animation, not just by financial merits, I mean just look how much it got at the box office, but also as a Disney film in general. A lot of people even said that this movie killed 2D animation as a whole. Really. The same genre that has movies like Titan AE, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, and Sinbad, all of which were financial failures. While I will not argue about this, I will say that this isn't the worst Disney film I've ever seen, but then again I have never seen every 2D film Disney has made, so I don't know what else to say. So the question is Home on the Range truly as bad as they say? Did this movie truly kill 2D animation? And most importantly, does it hold up without the advent of nostalgia? Load your revolver and giddy up, partner, because this is Disney's Home on the Range. So the movie opens up with the song You Ain't Home on the Range, which is a pretty solid song accompanied with a montage of a jackrabbit doing wacky shenanigans and then title card. Cut to a sheriff hanging up a wanted poster and narration by our protagonist, a prize cow named Maggie, voiced by Roseanne Barr. She tells that she once had a home on the range of a dozen or so cows, but that would all change with the arrival of our antagonist, a cattle rustling outlaw named Alameda Slim and his gang of Willie brothers. Somehow, Slim stole the whole herd right under the noses of the farmer, all except for Maggie, and so with no choice, her owner decided to sell her, since he could no longer afford his farm. And so we are introduced to Maggie's new home, a little farm called Patch of Heaven, accompanied by the song of the same name. This farm also serves home to our 2 new protagonists, Grace, played by Jennifer Tilly, and Mrs. Calloway, played by Judi Dench. Maggie comes up to the farm and instantly wins everyone over with her show-off skills, but just like all good things, it would never last, as the Sheriff Sam sends an eviction notice to the owner of Patch of Heaven, saying that unless she pays $750 within 3 days, her farm will be auctioned off. Now it's up to our cowgirls to get $750 and save Patch of Heaven, all while doing what cows do best. Stuff. So the plot is an Odyssey quest to get a specific amount of currency to save a specific thing. It's a basic enough plot and so it doesn't do anything special. The plot is nothing special, but the real bad stuff is in the contents. Home on the Range as a film is pretty bad. It's not all bad though. The animation is good. While it's nothing special, it does the Disney job done and it utilizes a pretty solid amount of 3D. One thing I can get a kick out of this film is its art style. A lot of the characters like the humans and the animals have these jagged edges that make it stand out compared to other Disney films. But then again, I could be wrong. And the backgrounds, while not too special, look pretty solid. Some of my favorites are the daytime desert shots and Little Patch of Heaven. Just like the Croods, Home on the Range starts out interesting in the first several minutes, but then when they leave the farm, it all goes downhill from there. That's 10 minutes into the movie and already I start seeing the forest through the trees. The movie from this moment onward becomes boring as hell, and it's one of those movies that makes my eyes roll, hoping that it becomes good. The writing of the movie is average at best. There's nothing too much for me to say about it, so it's nothing special, but I do have gripes with its conveying emotions. This movie has 3 emotional moments that feel so fake because of how very little attached I feel towards the characters. My idea of a good emotional moment is that you need to fully establish the characters so that the audience can grow attached to the characters and grow some form of connection. But in Home on the Range, here there is basically no character to develop or attach yourself to other than Maggie of all people, and so these emotional moments feel forced and obligatory, and that is all owed to the film's pace, being all show, barely tell. Actually, the movie is all tell and don't show, like it tells us about certain events like Maggie's old farm, but it doesn't show this at all, which makes it hard for her to develop as a character. Just like any Disney movie, this film has songs, and it's hit and miss. The movie was all written by Alan Menken, who wrote the music for other Disney films like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Hercules, and Tangled. You Ain't Home on the Range and Little Patch of Heaven are actually my favorite songs in the movie. Home on the Range is a solid introduction to the setting of the film, Little Patch of Heaven is a great establishing song, and is a welcoming song to listen to. Slim's yodeling song is solid if unmemorable. Will the Sun Ever Shine Again is an alright song, but is my least favorite because of how forced it was implemented into the film. As for the comedy, it barely reaches the mark of being funny. I had a couple of smiles and some small chuckles here and there, but that's about it. The movie falls flat on its face with its comedy. The only times I ever laughed at the movie were when Slim was ranting about yodeling being art, Buck's cowboy fantasy dream, and Buck's excitement to wearing Rico's saddle. Oh yeah, this part. This part is also good. Speaking of characters, let's talk about that. Almost none of the characters in Home on the Range barely hit the mark of memorable or enjoyable. Not even the villain, Alameda Slim, and the villain is sometimes the best part in any Disney movie. See So Hades from Hercules. Maggie is the new cow on the block. She's an award-winning show cow moving over from an old farm and instantly becomes popular on Little Patch of Heaven. Like I said, she is the only character in the movie to be the most developed, and she acts so sarcastically around her peers to the point that it kinda makes her forgettable. Grace is a blonde, tone-deaf, optimistic cow who always thinks violence is never the answer. She's probably the most annoying character in the movie down to that voice, done by Jennifer Tilly, known for playing Tiffany in Bride of Chucky and Bonnie on Family Guy, as well as Celia from Monsters Inc. That voice is so unfitting to me, and it just doesn't work. It's so annoying and forgettable. Mrs. Calloway is the sophisticated member of our cowgirl trio. She watches the animals on the farm and becomes jealous when Maggie shows up. There's also other characters like Buck, the sheriff's horse who dreams one day of taking down outlaws and is the character that comes slightly close to entertaining, Jeb, a goat that likes collecting cans, the other farm animals like the pig triplets, the chickens, the rooster, and the chicks, Pearl, the owner of Little Patch of Heaven, Lucky Jack, a peg-leg jackrabbit who assists our cow heroes, Sam, the sheriff, Rico, a badass bounty hunter working with some higher up, and also Buck's idol, Junior, Slim's buffalo who speaks in a gruff voice that I kinda can't get enough of, Wesley, the arbitrary Steve Buscemi insert, the Willie brothers, Slim's goons, this Patrick Warburton insert horse who's actually kinda funny, these horny cows that hit on Mrs. Calloway and Grace, and the main antagonist, Alameda Slim. He's a cattle rustling outlaw with the ability to hypnotize cattle by yodeling, which was something rejected by his peers and so sets out to buy all the farms in the West. Slim is a pretty bad villain. His motivation is weak, all thanks to the show barely tell pace of the film, and his plan doesn't even make sense. Like, why does he need to buy every farm in the West just so people can notice his yodeling skills? It's really dumb. A majority of these characters are bad, let me not mince words, and the voice acting, it's solid at best. It's not all too special, I hate Jennifer Tilly Cow, but they all do what needs done, especially Roseanne Barr Cow, who is in my opinion passable. My favorite voices in the movie go to Slim, voiced by Randy Quaid, and Junior the Buffalo, voiced by the late Lance LeGault. Quaid does a passable job with Slim, especially during his yodeling song, and Lance LeGault gives Junior this gruff voice that I kinda can't get enough of.
Songbirds sing, saloon gals sing, little bitty snot-nosed children sing. I yodel, and yodeling is an art!
Cows only.
Look, friend, you don't understand my situation.
No, you don't understand. So I'll say it again. The only critters that get by me are cows. Cows only.
So overall, there's a pretty good reason why a lot of people don't really talk about Home on the Range. For as much as it holds a special place in my heart, the movie sucks as a whole thanks to its forgettable characters, forced emotions, and overall being a bore to watch. Maybe it's no wonder I liked this movie so much as a kid. This movie feels like it was catering towards the younger audience instead of catering to everyone like the majority of Disney's work, and all the issues I talked about are a culmination of that fact. Does the ending save the film? No, it doesn't, so let's go over it. So about midway through the movie, Slim shows up and steals 5,000 cattle back to his hideout via hypnosis yodeling. All except for Grace, who gets our heroes out of his trance and continue after him. We later see Slim put on his disguise with Mr. Yancey Odell and explains his plan to his goons. I already went over this. Back at the farm, Pearl laments the loss of her farm as well as the loss of her girls. Meanwhile, as the girls follow back the trail, it gets mixed up and then comes a storm. Come the forced emotional scene and emotional song, and the next day they meet Lucky Jack, who agrees to help them take down Slim because he stole his family home, the Echo Mines, and made it into his lair. So after going through Junior and coming up with a plan, they finally kidnap Slim and an epic chase scene ensues. Then they crash into a train and get caught by Slim, and that's when it's revealed that Rico was working with Slim all along. So after realizing this, Buck comes back and together they take down the bad guys, and so after a bit of encouragement from Mrs. Calloway, they now know what to do next. So our heroes free all the cows and bag up the bad guys, and then they fire up the Getaway Express and steer headlong towards Patch of Heaven, which has already been sold to Slim, all before having one more conversation with the horny cows. They charge into the Morning Express but are thankfully safe thanks to the work of Jack and Buck. Just as Slim is about to sign the deed to the farm, they jump the track and crash into the farm and confront Slim face to face. Now, in typical Western fashion, our heroes charge headlong into the fray and take down Slim. Except, no wait, he's got a gun!
Oh no, he's got a gun!
So now the farm animals join the fray and take down Slim, and his identity is revealed in front of the entire farm. Apparently it's not over until the fat man sings, but then he gets shut up by a cowbell. And so the reward money for Slim's capture is handed over to Pearl, thus saving her farm. Until our heroes realize that Maggie is gone. But of course she comes back, and so, the movie ends with all of our animal friends dancing to an ending hoedown with an ending reprise of Little Patch of Heaven. The end. Home on the Range as a movie sucks. In fact, it's a good reason why Disney pretends this thing doesn't exist on both the critical and commercial side. For as much as this movie holds a place in my heart, I can't help but say the movie doesn't hold up by its comedy, story, humor, and overall being a bore to watch. But I don't blame it for the downfall of 2D animation. The movie as a whole sucks, but I don't think it killed 2D animation as a whole, according to a lot of people. This movie's also a good example of why I don't judge things I liked as a kid based on nostalgia. I mentioned this in my Banjo video, but for as much as the things I liked as a kid hold a place in my heart, it's always good to judge things through a more modern perspective. It has a few good bits here and there, but overall, Home on the Range does not hold up not only as a Disney film, but as a film in general. I'm gonna have to rate this movie a dead horse beating 4 out of 10. A forgotten Western dud.